Hey everyone, I wanted to go over the new and exciting news that we got for Monster Hunter Rise on the Nintendo Switch. And today we're going to be going over the first wave of information from the official design work complete Monster Hunter Rise compendium. This is a book that basically released in Japan a couple of days ago. I imported a copy, so I'm going to be going over some of the information that they provide in this book, referencing stuff like hunting fields, monsters, weaponry, the lore, and any sort of information regarding any and all characters, monsters, and areas into the game. And of course, they provide us with even brand new details that simply weren't available there before, like renders, concept art, and a ton of information that sadly is all in Japanese. Hopefully they do release a version in English at some point in the future. I'm going to be translating it as best as possible. But today we're going to be going over some brand new characters that were revealed into this book that could potentially bring some new and interesting perspectives, whether it is in referencing to upcoming DLC, potentially new voice packs, or anything along those lines, kind of like the ones that we got more recently a few weeks ago or even last month, and or the potential of any of these characters actually appearing in Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. And that's because they're all connected to Rondine. Remember that Rondine is the knight that pretty much works as a trader. She has her own ship docked in Camera Village, and you are able to trade with her. Eventually, once you unlock enough of her information and like discussions and comments as you progress through the story, you'll be able to find out that she's actually from another land, and she gives you like a little bit more information on like what's actually happening around the world, not just necessarily in Camera Village due to the rampage. Obviously, in the trailer for Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak that we just got recently, we got information that pretty much her sister is going to be visiting the Camera Village to go see her sister, and potentially she'll be guiding you to the outpost Elgato, and from there you're going to be making that as your home as you traverse to the new areas featured in Monster Hunter Rise Sunbreak. So because she's a special knight from another land and it's clearly referenced in the game, in the concept arts that we're actually seeing on the screen right now, I scanned it directly from the book, you actually are able to see on the top left the text that is in Japanese. It actually says she's clearly labeled as a special knight along with the other characters you get to see. Also, they mentioned the Knight Duel, and that is actually the girl with the like armor from, I believe, like Bonari or whatever it is. Her name is La Paz, and the guy's name is actually Bajina with a B, Bajina. That's according to the translation that I've picked up on. But he's actually got like a surname, like a Sir, so Sir Bajina. That's a weird one if they're actually going to go that route, but his name is actually Bajina. So we'll actually have to wait and see how localization treats his name. But these are basically like friends of hers or like sub-knights to Rondine. So clearly none of these characters have appeared in the game. They're not referenced in the lore at any place. She never mentions her friends back home and her homeland or nation or anything along those lines. They are simply showcased in this book for the very first time. This is what I'm talking about as like potential introduction of brand new characters that could appear in Sunbreak, because remember, we're going back to her homeland and we're going to be in one of the outposts of her homeland. Whether it is what actually she'll eventually show up, but we're dealing with her sister, perhaps these characters could show up as NPCs or even just full-on like characters like that are something that you're dealing with as you're like trying to like get settled into the new village. We don't necessarily know. On the bottom left, you also get a little bit of a description. Now, I did take the liberty to translate some rough aspects of it because they just simply weren't translating all that well. So this is not a 100% translation, but it's read as best as possible. At the behest of the queen of a certain country, she takes care of issues that occur in various places. They're obviously referencing to Rondine. The knights who set out to do so have special training and can work individually. Her strength is said to surpass the guild's senior hunters, as Rondine is not a mission knight, but she also serves along with her allies. So obviously they're referencing La Paz and this Vagina guy, which is again a ridiculous name if you actually look at the translation. So, you know, that's pretty much the two characters that they're showcasing. There is one little wrinkle that I do want to mention that could potentially mean that these are just kind of like concept arts, and because they are, and ultimately they will just never really go anywhere. And that's because these specific images that you're seeing are only showcased right next to the two other downloadable voice packs that we actually got just like a couple of months ago. And of course, I'm referring to the voice packs for Big Bro and Cool Girl. These are the ones that we got the trailer for, where one of them is a hunter in an Archeros gear, and the Cool Girl is wearing like all Zenogre gear. So they were like, ultimately were just voice packs, but they were given like a little bit of a backstory. Cool Girl is the niece for Fugen, you know, the guy that you're basically dealing with the entire time, who's basically having to deal with the rampage. And Big Bro is just another hunter that's in the village, and kind of like they work in tandem. Cool Girl and Big Bro kind of like are always like hunting together, so they know each other very well. But obviously these characters do not appear in the game or anything like that. There is a little bit of back lore as you buy their voice packs, and they have a bunch of voice lines and stuff like that, but they never really appear in the lore or anything along those lines. This was just added like as DLC. There could be a potential thing where like ultimately La Paz and Vagina, as I hate to mention once again that is his name, could potentially just end up being voice packs added in, you know, in the future. These are just more, you know, popular people that Capcom will hire to do some voice lines, and they end up adding them as like DLC to continue the lore as they connect Rise to eventually Sunbreak. It could potentially be something like that, or again, it could be something better where these characters are introduced, you know, originally as concept art, but then eventually could end up appearing as like NPCs or people in the village that you're going to be visiting in Elgato in pretty much Sunbreak. So it could be either one of those, but again, this is brand new information from that book. I'm going to leave a link in the description below for the official Amazon Japan website where I imported mine from. I believe it's like 45 bucks with like shipping included. It's not cheap, but man, the amount of like concept art and information you get from that thing is just amazing. So I'm definitely going to be trying to dig for more nuggets into this book, and one of the things that I'm definitely going to be trying to cover as best as possible is the concept art for the official armor sets. I've been posting some of them on Twitter, so if you don't necessarily follow me on Twitter at Nintendo Sphere, I'm going to be posting a couple of images there as well before I make a full video and I go over them as best as possible, because the concept art for the armor sets is just amazing. It is just great to see how like care and love they actually put into like designing all of these things. Like even little trinkets are like hanging off the armor sets, things you don't necessarily notice, probably due to the visuals, but just things you don't necessarily notice about an armor set, like be it a charm here or like a buckle there, or like little things. They're like so intricately designed that it's just kind of like eye-opening how great that actually is. I do remember that the official Monster Hunter World book had that, the same like complete works book also had a lot of that same stuff. That was a much bigger book. I do believe I have a copy of there somewhere, but you know, I haven't looked at it in a while, but I don't necessarily know if there's an Iceborne one. I do think they're probably going to publish one eventually, but the Rise one just came out, so I cannot stress how cool this thing actually is. But if you're brand new to my channel, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Hit the bell to receive notifications when the videos go up. And as always, thank you so much for watching. See ya.